This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Monday, September 9th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, recovering from the Hurricane Dorian disaster in the Bahamas as the death toll rises. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the scene. The Trump administration says planned peace talks with the Taliban are off the table for now, why they failed and the White House's response. Despite intense criticism, President Trump moves to stop illegal immigration. His move may have worked, but another group is now on its way to the United States. And reversing aging. A new study says it is possible. We're going to show you what you can do to stay healthy as you grow older. All those stories and much more in this edition of CBN Newswatch. We want to begin this hour, though, with people living in some of the hardest hit parts of the Bahamas, evacuated Sunday, a week after the Category 5 Hurricane Dorian wrecked the island. Many residents say Dorian's aftermath will not keep them down for long.
I'm going to be sad to be leaving the island. This is home, and there's no place like home. There's no place like home. As soon as they get power and water running and things start to come in place, I'll be back.
The death toll now stands at 44, but could still rise as the search for victims and the rescue of stranded survivors continues. CBN's Operation Blessing arrived in Marsh Harbor to go into the region to help those still stranded and not able to evacuate. They went to several schools and area churches where people were gathering, delivering solar lamps so people could see in pitch black darkness, and giving them solar-powered aquifers for clean water and doing all they can to help.
Operation Blessing is going to be here the day after, and we're going to be installing some water purification system. We also have a small medical team that is going to be taking patients and first need of patients with some basic meds that we have. And we're going to be here with water, solar, and you guys. Keep us in prayer. Keep the people, our brothers and sisters of the Bahamas in your prayers.
Indeed, the doctor team was able to treat 43 patients there, with the most common issues being trauma and anxiety. Operation Blessing plans to remain in the Bahamas to help with relief efforts for the near future. The Trump administration says peace talks between the United States and the Taliban are off the table for now, leaving the president's plan to bring home U.S. troops after 18 years of war up in the air. In a Twitter post, the president said Taliban and Afghan leaders were to visit Camp David Sunday, but the plan was scrapped after the terrorist organization took responsibility for a recent bombing that claimed the life of a U.S. serviceman.
They tried to use terror to improve their negotiating position. We're looking for more than words on paper. We're looking for real, delivered commitment, and the Taliban demonstrated either that they weren't willing to or couldn't live up to the commitment.
Amber Strong is at our Washington, D.C. bureau following this story for us. So, Amber, where do things stand now? What did the now scrap deal include?
Hey, Ephraim. So that deal included the Taliban reducing violence and also breaking publicly from al-Qaeda. In exchange, the U.S. would slowly withdraw troops. Right now, Mike Pompeo says the door is closed, but neither side seemed completely willing to walk away down the road.
Now, both parties want to see troops come home after 18 years of war. So why are both sides now taking issue with the president's tactics?
Well, it depends on who you ask. You have people like Senator Amy Klobuchar who say this is just indicative of the president who went into this with no deal and who's kind of what they say all cattle and no, or all hat and no cattle. She says it's sort of like North Korea, where he had this deal or had this big show, but nothing set in stone. And then on the GOP side, you have people like Liz Cheney who say this is days before 9/11 and that the Taliban, who harbored al-Qaeda after 9/11, should never set foot at Camp David.
All right, Amber Strong following this story for us from our Washington bureau. Amber, thank you.
Thank you.
19 Democratic presidential candidates flooded New Hampshire this weekend, traveling there for the party's state convention just a few days before 10 of the candidates face each other on the debate stage Thursday. And while a new ABC Washington Post poll shows Joe Biden leading the pack, but Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is gaining ground on the former vice president. And Biden is in tight races in early voting states like New Hampshire and Iowa, which could mean he may face serious roadblocks in his attempt to win the Democratic nomination. Congress is returning to Washington today after its summer recess. One of the top items at the agenda is gun control. Democrats in the House are expected to push the issue after 4 mass shootings in Gilroy, California, El Paso, Texas, Dayton, Ohio, and Midland, Odessa, Texas. The shooting sparked a national debate on mental illness and gun control. What often isn't discussed is how communities deal with the aftermath of these tragic events once the glare of the media dims and leaves town. Our Charlene Aaron shares how one group is using kindness to help grieving cities heal.
The Honor Network performs simple acts of kindness as a way to honor and remember victims of mass shootings, one city at a time. The wheels of this pay-it-forward van travel the country to help communities heal by focusing on people.
We try to spread kindness around in honor of the victims. It's kind of like coming into the town and giving the whole town a really big hug.
Each random act includes a small marker with words "Believe there is good in the world" and a card with each victim's name. The network has traveled to cities such as Parkland, Florida, Santa Fe, Texas, and as far away as New Zealand, where 51 people were killed earlier this year. In an interview with CBN News, Tommy Mayer, a fire commissioner in New York, said he started the organization after personal loss.
This goes all the way back to September 11th. We lost a guy in my firehouse, fellow firefighter and a good friend of mine, Joe Hunter. Everyone coming from all around the world just to help us really had an impact on me. And I knew that one day I would do something to pretty much pay it back.
That desire recently brought Mayor to Virginia Beach to honor the 12 people killed on May 31st at the city's municipal center.
We went around the town, honored all 12 people that were killed on that day. And we also stopped by the police department, firehouse, and the 911 switchboard operators to thank them for all they did on that day.
Virginia Beach Mayor Bobby Dyer says long after the media moves on from the story, it's important to remember the victims and those still affected.
We must remember not only the victims, but the victims' families. We must also remember 4 people were tragically wounded, but especially, let's not forget the 300-plus people that were in Building 2 at that time that witnessed this carnage, that are going to have memories for the rest of their life.
Another stop included a local McDonald's, where an employee received a Bible in remembrance of Virginia Beach employee Keith Cox, who helped save others before he was killed. 2 customers at Pungo Surf Shop received free surfboard repairs in the name of Alex Gustev, an avid surfer.
I've had their boards for a while just because they haven't had money to pick them up.
Mayor hopes his message spreads not just because of evil, but because of good.
2 of the greatest, most powerful acts of kindness are understanding and forgiveness. And we could do that without having to buy anybody anything.
If we're going to defeat evil, let's do random acts of kindness. Let's be kinder to each other.
The Honor Network plans a stop in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio in the near future. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still to come, President Trump has faced severe attacks over his immigration policies, but evidence shows they're working. Even so, reports indicate a large number of people from around the world are heading to the United States, coming up from South America. We're going to have that report when we come back. Stay with us.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Despite intense criticism the president has faced over his border policies, they appear to be working. Politico reports border arrests have dropped by 60% since their peak in May. And as CBN News has reported, the number of migrants seeking asylum at our southern border has been dropping off over the summer. However, reports out of South America point to a large number of people from around the world making their way north. Chuck Holton went to Colombia to report on this new wave headed for America's border.
There's a large mass of asylum seekers en route to the U.S. who come from countries much further away than Central America. And before they get to the United States, they have to first make the treacherous trek through the Darien jungle. I drove from Medellin to the city of Turbo on Colombia's western frontier to get a sense of where these migrants are coming from.
It's a long drive, about 9 hours. Not that far distance-wise, but this road is so winding. Just up and down these very extreme mountains. That's just how it is.
It was dark by the time I arrived, but early the next morning I found what I was looking for. Masses of African migrants at the public boat dock. Peter Ba left Cameroon in mid-June.
Passed through Istanbul, that's in Turkey. Then we stopped at Panama. Then now we came to Ecuador. So we are trying to walk now back to Panama. From Panama, that's how we go to Inter-America, which that would be more safe for us.
There's so many migrants that have showed up today that they're having to get more boats to put them in. This is the public dock in Turbo, and this boat behind me is full of migrants that are headed to a place called Capurganá. It's the last spot inside Colombia, and from there they will start their walk. Most of them have no idea what they're about to face.
I don't know. I heard it's a tough one, but I don't know. We just pray God to guide us through.
Some of those making this trek through the jungle likely will not survive. But if they do, their journey is far from over. Camps in Panama now hold as many as 10,000 migrants, and the number of those being allowed to continue north to Costa Rica are only a few hundred per week. And the harbor master here in Turbo says the numbers continue to surge.
As of yesterday, we've transported over 6,000 people of different nationalities: Congo, Cuba, Haiti, Pakistan, Syria, Eritrea, Bangladesh. It's increased a lot, especially migrants from Africa. Many of them think that when they get here to Turbo, that the worst is over, but in reality, their suffering is just beginning.
And Fabricio thinks the biggest travesty is the number of children forced to make this dangerous journey.
We've seen nearly 600 of them this year alone making the crossing with their parents, many of them not even walking yet. It's really hard to watch.
Here on the Panama side of the Darien Gap, the Panamanian Border Police have picked up about 40 children in the last 12 months who've come walking out of this jungle all by themselves. Now, they didn't go in that way, but their parents died on the journey. And that leaves the government of Panama in a real quandary because in some cases, they don't even know what this kid's name is. He's too young to tell them, or even what country he comes from. And so I went and talked to the Panamanian version of Child and Family Services to find out how they're dealing with this crisis.
They arrive here in very bad health, exhausted, dehydrated, and covered with bug bites from the jungle. It's really painful for our team. We are deeply disturbed seeing children affected in this way.
Osledi Rodriguez is a Border Service liaison who works to reunite families who get separated on the trail. She says the children are being put in too much danger.
We've heard stories of an animal that attacked a baby and killed it out there. But when we recover lost children, we look at the border stations and, for example, recently reunited a 2-year-old with her mother after 7 days being lost.
I'm at the bus station in Medellin, Colombia, and this is one of the main stopovers for many of the migrants who are coming from overseas. One of the questions I think people have is, how are they getting here and how are they paying for it? Well, almost all of the migrants coming from Africa, Asia, and other places around the world have to go to Ecuador first because it's the only country in the Western Hemisphere, basically, that will allow them in without a visa. Then they start taking buses. It takes about a week, and they ride buses from Ecuador up through Colombia, change buses here in Medellin, and take another one up to Turbo, which is the jumping off point for the Darien Gap. As to how they're paying for it, well, many of them that I'm talking to are telling me they get the money from their friends and family in the United States. So all other things being equal, I think it's fair to say that these migrants might be desperate to get into the U.S., but they're certainly not destitute.
Omar Cáceres is one of dozens of Cuban migrants preparing to cross the Darien Gap this morning.
They've warned me the trip is really tough, complicated, and dangerous. I'm not sure how I will make it, but I trust my family to support me and God to protect me.
From Western Colombia, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Still ahead, a surprising new study suggests it's possible not to only delay but even reverse the aging process. Although that study is far from definitive, it does teach on a key area of science, one which shows how we can take the right steps to turn off the bad genes which can hurt our health and turn on the good ones which can keep us healthier as we age. We're going to bring you that story right after this. Stay with us.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back. A new study suggests it's possible to reverse the aging process. 9 healthy volunteers took a cocktail of 3 common drugs for a year, and Nature magazine reports they lost an average of 2.5 years on what's called their epigenetic clock, which measures biological age. Researchers caution the results are preliminary and not solid since it was a small study. So what does the term epigenetics mean? CBN Health reporter Lori Johnson shows us even though many of our health characteristics are in our genes, our actions can turn bad genes off and turn the good ones on. Here's Lori Johnson.
Thanks to these new DNA home test kits, you can learn all about your genes and various health issues just by filling one of these tubes with saliva and sending it to the lab. While those results may reveal a lot, they don't always tell the whole story. Expert Dr. Michael Rosen of the Cleveland Clinic compares epigenetics to a light switch. Our behavior can silence our genes or activate them.
And which of your genes are on or not are, to a large degree, your choices by things you do. So, is epigenetics important? Absolutely.
Our DNA is made up of genes. Our behavior, such as what we eat, smoke, even think, dispatch markers to the top of our DNA, which tell our genes to turn on or off.
So if you're stressed and not managing it, you're going to turn certain genes on that cause inflammation.
Even pregnant mothers can affect their baby's genes, such as those that retain fat.
If you don't get enough food during pregnancy, your body, the baby's body, if you will, says, hey, I'm going to come out to an environment that's sparse in food, so I'm going to turn on the genes that allow me to save food and be, if you will, very efficient. That means that when you eat food after you're born, you're going to gain a lot more weight.
The reverse is also true. Even if a female is unhealthy before pregnancy, she can turn things around for her offspring if she adopts a healthier lifestyle while she's pregnant. The new field of epigenetics began in 2003 here at Duke University. Dr. Randy Jirtle proved DNA is not destiny with his landmark agouti mouse study. The mice carried the agouti gene, causing obesity, diabetes, and jaundice. But when Jirtle fed pregnant females lots of vitamins, her offspring ended up thin, healthy, and brown.
I feel like we've made a contribution to science that will be there literally forever.
Dr. Jirtle compares epigenetics to programming a computer.
The deterministic part in our system is the DNA. That's the stable part. The free will part comes in through the software that tells that deterministic system how to work. We are, in effect, a programmable computer. That's how we were made.
And the behavior of both parents can alter their child's gene expression, and sometimes these changes stick.
You can see that, in effect, what God, I think, was telling us is that this is the way you're made. And if you mess with this system, you're not going to alter the genome so much, but you're going to alter your programs. And those, since they're not totally erased necessarily from generation to generation as they go through the egg and the sperm, can literally give rise to problems in the next generation, and the following out the 4 and 5 generations.
As epigenetics research proceeds, scientists hope to pinpoint how specific areas of the genome are affected. Still, one thing's for certain, lifestyle choices can bring out the best or worst in our DNA across multiple generations.
Coming up, the Christian film Overcomer going strong at the box office after 3 weeks. We're going to show you how well it's doing and give you a look at the story behind this remarkable film. Right after this, stay with us.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
The Christian film Overcomer is still holding strong at the box office, finishing in the top 5 this weekend. That's according to preliminary estimates. With $3.75 million, it's now brought in just under $25 million in 3 weeks. Overcomer tells the story of a high school basketball coach whose dreams are crushed when his town's largest manufacturing plant closes down and hundreds of families leave. He reluctantly agrees to coach cross country, a team with only one runner. But he preserves the help of a new Christian friend who has a strong faith despite his weak health. The movie has expanded to 2,150 theaters, the widest release of any movie by the producers, the Kendrick brothers, who have made other box office hits like War Room. Time now for your Monday motivation, and today I want to leave you with this simple thought to jumpstart your week. God is alive and well, and His Word will work for you. It's a fact, and it's a promise found in Scripture. With that word, I encourage you to make today a marvelous Monday, and the rest of the week a wonderful one. That will do it for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online at cbnnews.com. Also, we would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Again, I encourage you to make today a marvelous Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.